everyone. Karen the Warp Spinster here. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to my channel. To start out with, before I start on another piece of Brillig, I wanted to kind of take stock of what we have so far. Now, this is nowhere near what the arrangement will be in the end. I still have more things to do, and there's lots more to fill in. This is just to kind of see what we have. This is going to be a larger quilt than I might have originally planned, but it's okay. I think I'm starting to make what I'm going to call Alice quilts. So those of you who have been here a while know about Alice and that quilt and how it came to be, and this is sort of becoming the same thing. So I think I'm just going to start calling that category of quilts Alice quilts, which are the maximalist stuff that I do. And then there's the minimalist stuff that I do with apple pea seeds. So, oh, and say hello to Elroy up there in the corner, my Roomba. So, as I'm looking at this, it helps me to decide what colors I want to use and what kinds of things I want. So, and I don't have a tripod, sorry if this is a little bouncy. To be honest, I'm filming this a second time because I hit the wrong button the first time, as I am wont to do, and I don't want to talk about it. So this gives me an idea for balance of colors. So I thought at one point that I had too much yellow. Now I'm thinking that there's actually not a bad balance depending on how you lay everything out. I like having some more pink. I think I need a few more pink accents. And these pieces, the circles and whatnot, are not at all where they're going to be. So you may be seeing pieces that don't look familiar because the circles haven't been placed yet. Another thing that I want to do is to kind of keep an eye out for where the black and white vines are going to be, because I don't want it, for example, to cross the seed pod that we did last week. But some others are kind of built for that. So you have star blocks or pieces, and then you have supporting, and this is like a supporting one. If a vine goes through there, I'm fine with that. I sort of built it that way. The same for this one. And this one will have circles, so maybe not so much. That one I think has one. So I do need to do some supportive pieces, and that's something that I have planned for today. Overall, I'm feeling pretty good about where this is going. Obviously, I'm going to need to do some filler pieces, but that will happen as it did with Alice once I lay all of the sort of planned blocks that I've done, and then I can do the fillers in much ways, same way I did with Alice. I plan to do a lot more embellishing with this. If I'm going to make it an Alice quilt, I may as well make it an Alice quilt. And I want to have kind of a lot of things for people to see. It's going to be a very busy quilt. And so I want people to be able to stand back and just take in the overall piece, but I also want to have little bits for them to see as they get closer to the quilt. And that is, think how things are going to go. Hildy's just not doing it. Hildy needs to stand more in her power. You might expect that Sebastian and Fritz would be larger, they being the males of the species, but maybe that's not true of Slithy Toes. We don't know. In any case, I'm not happy with Hildy. I'm not happy with how I portrayed Hildy, let's put it that way. So that's probably going to be a complete remake. And I know I want some more splashes of pink here and there. There are a few creatures that I'm going to invent for it. I also have to go back to the Jabberwocky poem and see, what else is the Borogroves or whatever. It's going Borogroves or Borogoves. Those Boro things. And see what else I might want to add to it. You can see how the pink really pops, which if there was too much pink, it would be kind of overwhelming. So I like having those little bits of it. If I were laying it out this way, I'd want to balance them out. So there might be some more down here. Probably, would want to be some up there as well. So long story short, things are coming along. I want to make another comment on the seed pod, which needs the beads yet, of course. But I also want to do some, I don't know, kind of not shadowy exactly because it's going to be white, but something very fine and maybe ghostly in just a plain white stitching, not embroidery exactly, but just stitching some other leaves coming out here just as a very fine, almost lace-like background. So that will be one of the other things that you see as you come up closer. So what I do with that, and I think I know how I want to do it, but there may be another thing that I need to explore, and so as not to look like a complete idiot on that. Well, I know I'm a complete idiot on doing that, so I may want to practice a little bit. Not that you guys are overly critical, but and I'm sure when I do it that those of you who do a lot of it will have some hints for me, and I always appreciate that. So I will be thinking more about that. So now let us move on, finally, to putting something together. So what I want to do today is just kind of a grid-like structure, in keeping with some of the longer, just, there are the star blocks and then there are the supporting characters. So a couple of those blocks that I pointed out that are tall and narrow, I think I might want to do that, although any of them could be turned to be horizontal. Just a rough grid-like kind of thing, and it's not going to be a rigid grid. It's going to be a non-rigid grid. May have a curve or two in it, but I'm not sure. I kind of want straight lines, not necessarily parallel, but straight lines, because that will be a good contrast to the vine winding through, and this might be a place where the vine is going to color. And speaking of the vine, I'm thinking now, just came to me, that as I'm doing the layout for the blocks and the pieces, that I may want to work out roughly how I want the vine to go first, and then sort of slide the blocks underneath it, so that the vine has a nice flow to it, but that I'm not trying to fit it into the layout once I'm finished. That's one way to do it, but I don't think that's how I want to do it. And the whole sliding under thing, of course, is laughable. So I think, well, for some quilters it might not be. For me it is. So I think that may be something I do in Procreate, where I work out do a layer where I work out the vine configuration and then do a layer underneath, and then I can slide in the blocks. So, all right, I'm just, sorry, making you privy to my thinking. So, grid. Now, I know that I wanted some more pink in there. I don't know that I want the whole grid to be pink. Pink is really just a pop color. So white is kind of an accent. Pink is the pop. I don't have very much pink is what I'm getting at. So that may be something that I slide into it. And now I'm thinking more about those eyes. This is my stream of consciousness kind of thinking. I do not like reading Faulkner because it's very stream of consciousness and it's too much like my brain, and it scares me. So, I was talking about the two googly eyes, and I think it would be kind of fun to have some shy creatures, not creepy, but just shy creatures that are peeking out. And then I have some other creatures in, I don't know how big this quilt's going to be, folks, and you are likely to get tired of it before I get there. Grid. Focus, Karen. Grid. So I'm going to pull out, I think I'll do some blue on this one. I don't have, there's an awful lot of green and yellow, which is all right. I like them both. But I think we need to have some more blue in there. So let me pull out some blue and, I don't know, what do you think? Blue and green or blue and yellow? Let's do blue and green because I have an awful lot of yellow going on. All right, I'm going to get there, I promise. I have some green and some blue scraps, and my imaginative brain seems to have at least a couple of cylinders firing today. So I'm thinking about something that I want to do with this as an accent. Might do more than one block, and then the other one has a pink accent. I'm not sure yet, but this may not work out at all as I think it will. But the first thing I want to do is, I've given a lot of thought to how I want to construct this grid, but let's start out by cutting this at an angle. I think there's a blip in my blade. Oh no, it worked. All right. Sounds a little blippy, like there's a nick in the middle of it. Yes, I should put in a new blade. I will just say that, I should. Now, I don't want this necessarily to look like a tic-tac-toe board. Oh, but wouldn't that be fun? With a tic-tac-toe board, and I've got an idea for, a couple of little creatures and maybe some eyes that would be kind of fun. Okay, so tic-tac-toe, I'll need two going this way. And that's where some pink could come in for some accent on here. So the blue is going to be the background because I'm trying to use some of the strips and the scraps that I have been creating as I've gone along. So how big do I want this to be? This could almost, or I'm getting myself in trouble here and driving you all up a wall. I could make these like blinds, window blinds, and then there could be some little eyes that peek out from the blinds. That could be kind of fun and interesting, but we're doing a grid today, aren't we? All right. So this is going to be the background for this grid. That's a pretty wild combination, but that's what this quilt is, right? And then there will be more orange, green strips going this way. I am doing another quilt that has a very similar green, but not exactly the same green. So I need to make sure I'm using the same green, which I will do. But then we'll have like a funky grid, but still leave us some room to insert some Now the creatures are becoming a little bit hive-like, like beehive-like, and this is the comb. This is completely different from what I had planned, but let's go with it, see what happens. I may hate it, and I'll go back to what we did before. This would not be the first time here. And what I want to do with the white is to make it almost the opposite of a shadow. So it would be just a thin line between the green and the background. And then that would add that little bit of white and break up the blue and the green a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to check to make sure that I have the right green for this. And then I'm just going to insert these. Now there are a couple of ways I could do this. I can put these two in, and so I've got, imagine those are seamed, and then go in and cut through here. Or I could do it as separate strips so that these don't really meet necessarily in the middle, which is what I was going to do to begin with. Let me think about that. I think I might want to do that because it'll be wonkier, and you know, I was doing a couple of weeks there where I wasn't very wonky because I wasn't feeling wonky, but I may be feeling wonkier now. So let me check for the green. This looks very yellow to me. I wonder if that's fun. Anyway, I'll check the green, come back, and we'll do some slicing to make a grid. This is the correct green. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is cut a strip off here. And I will then set that aside for the moment. I will then divide this and insert these pieces. And I do want to add a white accent. I may also make this angle a bit more acute, just because when it's, the angle is across a long width, a long length here. So it isn't as acute when you take just a small bit of that. So I might in fact do that, always remembering that I'm going to lose half of an inch to seams here. Okay, and I will add some white on, I don't know, I guess this side. Put that on there, and then that will attach. I'll do another strip over here. I'll probably make this narrower. And again, I want the shadow, the anti-shadow, to be on the same side. So I will put it on that side. I don't know why I want it to be on the same side. I guess it's the surface design and illustrator part of me that wants to accurately depict the shadow. All right, so if you're an artsy type, the light is coming from here. All right, I don't think I need to show you how I do that, do I? Just gonna add a narrow strip. I will press it toward the darker, so it's always going to go away from the white. The green is going to go toward the blue. White is going to go toward the green and the blue. All right. Here is the first set. This is going to be more regular than the rest of this because I'm going to repeat this once again and then that a third time down here to get the tic-tac-toe-y kind of look. I could have, if I wanted this to be less regular, then I could have put this part on when I got this far, and then I could have added that on and done something different here so it would have been less regular. And that would be an option. I might try that at some point, but for now I'm just going with this next piece. Then I expect these are not going to meet. So they might be at different angles, different places, who knows. So I'm just going to repeat this again, or a similar kind of thing, not exactly the same, so that I get the second bit, and then I need the bottom part as well. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Nothing mysterious or innovative about it. I have chosen, I'm just noticing how off the color is here. This is a brighter blue, by the way. Anyway. I have decided to, I did these two pieces before I added one on. This was the next one that I made kind of an H, and then I did this one. And I purposely didn't add this one on because I thought, well, maybe I'll want the other one to be in the middle, and in fact, I think I do. This will probably be at the bottom because it's heavier weight, visually heavier, because the pieces are larger. So, and it doesn't really matter in terms of putting this together. It could be either top or bottom. And of course I could switch these around and make it like that, which might be what I do, in fact. I could switch them all around and see what happens. Kind of like that one. That one, I think, not as much. None of them would be a disaster, but I think I'll go with this. So now I need to add this on here, put a green and white strip in there. Here we have the rough finish. I left this longer purposely because this piece is shorter. I've tried to line up sort of this end because I knew one was shorter. And I'm thinking I did it because I wanted to leave room for doing something like that. Not sure that's what I want to do. Of course, I could put in a blue piece and it would sort of mask that. Or I could cut this as a curve, or I could just cut it straight there. So I'm not sure what I want to do there, honestly. It's kind of a little pop of interest, but it's also kind of jarring. The question is, as I put it in with the rest of the blocks, is it going to be okay? So here's the other thing I could do. Let me turn that under so it looks a little more finished. Let me try something. I have all of those lovely circles cut out for other pieces. Let me grab a couple. So another option I would have, since I want to have this little peekaboo thing going on, is to have something that goes out that direction, or maybe over on top, and that adds a little, I don't know what happened here kind of thing. We could also, I hate to decide that anybody, is going to have pink eye or anything, but I do like the concept of the shy eyes peeking out. Not sure that's, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling that being okay, honestly. Maybe sadly, I rather like it. And then the vine could be running through here and not do any sort of damage to something that I spent a lot of time thinking about and doing. Not that I didn't think about it, but I purposely left it open so that the vine running through here would not be too disruptive to the visual of this. So I actually am, I think, going to add in these pink pieces on the end here. It's going to be very asymmetrical and what? But that's kind of how I roll. So I think I will do that, and then I'll come back and maybe talk about some other things we could do on here. I know I'm big on circles, but I'm going to try not to do any of that because, again, this is a supporting block. This isn't a starring roll, although this little side might be. All right. I'm almost ready to put some yellow in here and it will look like eggs. Maybe they're like little toad eggs. I don't know. Did we decide if toads are mammals or not? We don't know. We haven't decided that yet. We haven't learned that yet. All right. Now, of course, there are all kinds of options for other circles, but again, I don't want to go crazy. And this will be an opportunity for the vine to go through here. So I need to just put together a vine that's actually the width that I want it to be. So we could have the vine going through here with the, I have to press that white one. Your tolerance for my lack of pressing in the interim is quite good, but I feel might be limited. And here, so now you can see that the vine can go through here without any major disruptions. And that's, I need some of those blocks. Although the dark, again, I want the weight to be more toward the bottom here. Lighter at the top. So there really isn't room to be putting in any other circles. I'm really kind of liking this. I'm glad I decided to do that because wonkiness is where we live, right? Anyway, I think that will be it for this week. Probably some more Brillig next week. Time will tell. Thank you again for spending time with me. I appreciate your comments. I know I'm not always very prompt in replying, but I am reading them, and I will respond at some point. Stuff going on. Oh, I do have an update I want to do for you first. This is the Boondoggle quilt. I'm getting much closer to being finished. I was going to apologize for the lighting, but it's actually representing the colors pretty well. So I have finished all of the quilting on the letters, which is this sort of gridded linear maze thing. And then the background, all I have left, this is just a dense zigzag kind of thing. So all I have left of the background then is this gray circular thing, and then all of the black. There is on the other end a similar stretch of black that I need to finish. And then, of course, I need to tie in the ends. The back's looking okay. So I'm making progress. It's kind of slow. This is really a lot of fun to do if I don't have a headache. For some reason, I can do this squared off grid thing much more easily than I can just a free motion curved kind of thing. And I think it's because I'm doing ruler work, so I'm stopping in order to move the ruler around, and I think that gives me enough time to contemplate and make sure that I don't back myself into a corner. I did back myself in once and got myself out again, but I can do it much more easily with the squared off grid. The green that I have is a variegated green, and I do not like that on machine quilt. Actually, I don't like it at all for quilting or sewing, because when that little hook from the bobbin comes up, so you've got that little loop of, it, tiny though it be, of the bobbin thread that hooks over the top thread, then you may get the top thread is light and the bobbin thread is dark, and I don't know, it just bothers me. It's less if it's a variegation of one color than if it's a multicolored thing. It's just personal preference. I know a lot of people like the variegation and how it looks on the surface. It's just personally not something that I like in my style of quilt and quilting. So, making progress. This should be finished. I'm hoping to do this, at least this gray yet today. And then I'll start on the black, and hopefully it should be within the week. I would think maybe in the next couple of days I can do it, depending on how my time turns out. So that's the update on Boondoggle. I hope to see you next week. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.